Hello and welcome to another module of Introduction to Mining Engineering. I'm your instructor, Dr. Shekhar Bhattacharyya. The lessons covered in these modules are, we have a 2.1, which is Life Cycle of a Mine, 2.2, Mining Law Basics, and then 2.3, the General Mining Law of 1872. In this module, we cover the life cycle of a mining project and introduce fundamental laws that govern mining in the US. Understanding these two areas helps the students connect to the technical task with legal responsibilities. Now, life cycle of a mine. There is prospecting, and this is to find and define mineral resources. These are the early stages. Then there comes the exploration, which is again finding and defining mineral resources and reserves, and these are the final stages. And then comes the development stage, where we do the design, permitting, and financing the mine. And then the exploitation, which is the drill, blast, load, haul, and processing the ores. And final stage is reclamation, where we close the mining operation safely and responsibly, and we restore the land to an original or agreed upon post-mining use. Now, each stage has technical, economic, environmental, and legal considerations. Now, reclamation isn't just an afterthought. It's planned from the start. Now, legal framework for mining, this is the access and ownership rights, conditions for exploration and development, compliance with environmental and safety standards, taxes, bonds, royalties, and public engagement. The federal and state and local level of regulations. The mining engineers must understand not only how to extract resources, but under what conditions it's legal, safe, and responsible to do so. Now, there's a little bit of difference between laws and regulation. When I talk about laws, these are enacted by the Congress and signed by the President into a law. And regulations, these are created by different federal agencies like MSHA, EPA, and others. These are published in the Code of Federal Regulations and CFR, and the particular in mining is Title 30. So Title 30 covers the mine safety and health and all other related aspects. The distinction is critical for compliance. Regulations may vary by region, and engineers must be familiar with local adaptations. Now we talk about General Mining Law of 1872, which applies to locatable minerals on federal public lands. So these allow staking of lode and placer claims. This includes mill and tunnel sites provisions. It enables extralateral rights and patenting. Now, most of these patenting rights are frozen in 1994. We'll talk about that. Despite its age, which is obviously quite some time, this law still forms the foundation for the public land access. The details of claims, staking, and patenting are essential knowledge that a mining engineer should have. Now, there are multiple amendments to the 1872 law. There is the Mineral Leasing Act of 1920, which excluded the fuels. Basically, the fuel minerals are now on lease-based system. The Federal Land Management Act, which is 1976, it started requiring the environmental planning, and then the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act of 1977, which created the Office of Surface Mining Reclamation and Enforcement, popularly known as OSMRE. These mandates coal mine reclamation. And then in 1994, there is a budget provision which halted any new patents. Now, several updates have changed how certain minerals are accessed and introduced requirements for environmental accountability. There are some controversies and challenges on these. Now, the environmental impacts and low public return on mineral resources, that is one of the controversies. Then misuse of patents and claims for real estate and other purposes, that is another. Then sometimes there is inadequate updates to reflect modern needs. And then there are budget riders, which are kind of a workaround that mine owners sometimes did and created some instead of formal amendments, and these are sometimes create problems. Now the critics argue that the law is completely outdated and favors industry over public interest. Now understanding these debates always helps. The engineers should act ethically, and why this matters to the engineers, that's also important. And laws influence site selection, design, cost estimates. Legal knowledge always helps to avoid any violations and optimize the planning. Ethical and sustainable practice requires a total understanding of the legal requirements. As the future leaders in this field, you will often be at the intersection of law, technology, and society. And legal literacy is a must. Now, mining is guided by a structured life cycle. Legal compliance is integral at every stage. Engineers must integrate law into decision making. For this module, always review the skeleton notes 2.2 and 2.3 for reinforcement of your knowledge, and review those skeleton notes carefully and think of legal knowledge as part of your toolkit for a responsible mining practice. I'll see you all soon with another module of Introduction to Mining Engineering. Till then, keep learning and stay safe.